incredibly more efficient, right? So the two biggest things that propositions, the two biggest things that we care about the most is one, reduction of labor costs needs to happen in some way. If we choose to keep the team incentives, we're going to have to cut wages. It's an either or situation because if our company goes out of business, if we can't afford, we all lose, right? We have to fire everyone. All of us are going to be out of a job. So we have to make changes, right? The second thing is in regards to the new factory, for us to be effective, we need to make sure that we are efficient with our manufacturing process, right? So we also want to remove team autonomy and make sure managers have a little bit more control so we can be the most efficient as possible. So we're increasing our production, especially with this new equipment. So those are the two biggest things. If these things don't happen, we're probably going to have to build the factory somewhere else to keep the costs down because staying locally is going to be more expensive overall.
Awesome. Okay, perfect. Just to clarify, you guys are kind of arguing to um so cut labor costs in any way, whether that's getting rid of incentives or cutting wages, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. We have to do one or the
One
other.
or the
There's
other. Okay.
there's no way we'll be able to do both. Well,
Gotcha.
yeah, there has to be a reduction of costs somewhere.
Okay, sounds good. And then another one is to, was it remove autonomy? Wait, was that it?
Yeah, just to give managers a little bit more control when it comes to the working environment. We're investing a lot of money into the new factory, right? Um, and we want to make sure it's going to be as effective as possible. If we increase production, then that will cause us to be able to continue to pay to not have to cut incentives and wages as wage, if that makes sense.
Okay, and removing autonomy will increase production.
Yes, because here's the thing with our current team-based system, right? We know the things that work best, right? We know what teams have been performing well and we've seen what they are capable of doing. We want to take those ideas and we want to apply them to each individual team and pretty much make it company policy that this is how things are done and this is how things will be done so we can be most effective, right? We can talk about new ideas. You guys can bring different ideas to the managers and be like, hey, what if we try this and see if it improves production? However, there does need to be a limit on autonomy because we've given you guys full autonomy, but that tends to make production sometimes higher, but also it can lead to lower production in a lot of cases.
Okay, gotcha. Sounds good. And your plan is, when it comes to like teaching the most effective way, you were talking about like seeing what team and what was most effective among like the workers and the teams, and then teaching that all around, or kind of like bringing in your own type of thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah. The most effective way we've been doing this for a long time, right? We see the teams that are performing well. So we would take bits and pieces from each top performing team, everything that works best, and create a new company policy based off of that that every team will be required to follow.
Okay, gotcha. Sounds good. Okay, so did I kind of not nail, did I kind of go over your key points? Did I miss anything? Okay. Okay, sweet. Perfect. Um, yeah, like we understand that change needs to happen, especially with like new plants and, a lot of new workers and everything. I totally get it. Um, but it's we're doing pretty well. Like we're doing better than the other companies. And I think it's kind of funny when like a company is doing super well and then we all of a sudden want to change a bunch of things. Um, it's like sometimes like changes can be a bad thing when we're doing so well. But I understand that it's necessary for sure. But when it comes to labor, cutting down labor costs, I we can understand like wanting to get rid of incentives, but we believe that the wages and the hourly rate should not be decreased. In fact, it should be increased because of how well we've been doing. And even though like other companies are decreasing like their pay and everything, it doesn't matter because um, our profits have been increasing. So therefore, I think our wages should be increasing. And when it comes to autonomy, I think um, that's when it can get a little bit sketchy because like um I think there has to be like kind of a line to be drawn in a way, like not too much new control, especially since of because of how well we've been doing. And there's lots of like loyalty to kind of how we've been doing. Of course, change is good, but like it's been effective. And I don't know, I think it can be like we've had a good streak of like no strikes and no, you know, rebelling. Like workers are happy with where they're at. I think maybe just we can be flexible with some new things happening like we have been before, but completely removing autonomy or like having a big increase of new control or management, I think wouldn't be very good because one of the reasons we work so well is because of our autonomy and we're just good at being flexible and making calls that need to be done and that type of stuff. So we're kind of asking for we can hear you out on getting rid of incentives, but I think we want an increase in pay for hourly wages. Um, because we there hasn't been one for a long time and our profits are increasing. We're doing great and that sort of thing. And then um I guess we would have to kind of talk more specifically about what removing autonomy would look like. But I would say the less the better, maybe. But yeah, what are you guys thinking about that?
I mean, to kind of build off of your point, the biggest change that's happening is the new plant, right? With us building a new plant, it costs a lot of money, and overall, the market's changing, right? A lot of new companies are changing their production lines and changing a lot of the way things work. Um, so when it comes to the wages, it's really expensive for us to put the new plant locally, right? That's the reality. If we want to keep it locally, and we want to keep it locally because we love our locals, we love our current community. It's great. It's going to be more money, right? And because of that, it would be a really bad time for us to start paying more, right? If we start paying more and opening up a new plant, let's say the new plant doesn't do as well, the chances of the company going under increase significantly, right? So that's the biggest concern we have is we for us to keep the plant locally, we can't raise wages right now. We simply can't. Now, maybe a few years down the line, let's say the new plant and our efficiency starts going up and it's awesome. Then maybe we can come back to this discussion, right? But because of the cost of opening up a new plant here in town, it's we have to cut costs right now to make this new plant work, right? That's the only option. Or we build the plant elsewhere and we move our company elsewhere. That's the situation we have found ourselves in.
Right. Okay. Then what about not like we won't keep incentives. Like we're cutting a cost somehow. Like it's not just increase our pay and do the new plant. It's also like, okay, like we can work with cutting those costs somewhere else. But when it comes to wages, just not having a decrease in pay. So how beneficial would it be to, cut it like cut it from somewhere else rather than the wages?
Honestly, that's something we can agree with, right? We can keep the because we can keep that base pay, right? I know you guys want an increase right now. We just can't bring the base pay up right now, but we can keep it if we cut a lot of those team incentive programs um, that have caused us to like pay some employees double the wage, right? Which I know still won't go over well, but we still want to keep that base wage pay. So that's something we can't agree on. We just can't increase anything right now.
Okay. Okay. That makes sense. And then so yeah, we don't have to increase, but we won't decrease. We'll just kind of stay where we're at. Does that sound like a good plan? Okay. Sounds good. And then when it comes to autonomy, what are we thinking on that? Because we're thinking less is better. I mean, not exactly like we cannot have any more management or control, but just like not a super big change in control and management.
Yeah, we're pretty negotiable on that. We are fine not adding too much more autonomy. We think we might add a little more autonomy just because it's a new plant, so we're gonna need a lot more structure when it comes to. But definitely, I think year and a half, 2 years down the road, we're definitely flexible to pushing that autonomy back a little bit and giving you guys a little bit more freedom. But definitely just because of the new plant starting. Um, we're looking at this as a long-term situation. So we're definitely wanting to keep your guys' jobs afloat to help the community. So with more autonomy that we kind of get to choose when we start out to make sure this company runs right, the more the better. But then of course, as we get on and we see that you guys are efficiently producing and making sure everything's correctly, then yeah, we're more than excited to back off for you guys.
Sounds like a good plan. Yeah, do you think there's like kind of an ability to, when it comes to management and that type of stuff for the new plant, maybe that's where that management can increase, and then maybe with the like the other plants and what we already have going on, just like kind of keeping that the same, and then just an increase on that specific plant because like you said, like it's a new thing, you need a little bit more help there type stuff.
Yeah, yeah, that's fine with us. We're the plants that are running efficiently now, we're fine keeping them right where they're at.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, cool. Well, I think that's all I have for my questions. It looks like we kind of spent our 20 minutes here. Should we go into our little groups again and work on our next step?
Yep, that's perfect.
Okay, sounds good. Okay,
Preston, we can just go back to the one that I created.
Sounds
yes.
good.
Okay, see you guys soon.